Hello poker players, this is Steve Subbrady again. This time I will show you how to use an application called Live Squeezer to create a hand history in the PokerStars text file format so we can remember what happened in a hand. Mike McDermott didn't have this app. Then we can import the text file into a hand replayer or into Poker Tracker to study the hand. If you've been watching my hand analysis videos, you'll notice that I use RIROPO hand replayer, which I also will demonstrate today. Let's get started. So we begin the Live Squeezer tutorial by asking you to visit the livesqueezer.winningpokerhud.com website. That will pull up this screen here. So we can start with the hand ID, or we can just leave it alone for now. We can change the date to the date that we played the hand, or we can use it as today's date. We can change the table name to WSOP or any other table. For example, we can make it Red Rock, but it needs to be one word, no spaces, or the hand might not play. We can then put the stakes in there. For example, it could be 2-5. For a cash game, it could be 100, 200 for a tournament. Look at the information panel. The format is, for example, for 10-20, it would be 10-20 for the cash game, for $2 ante in parentheses, and straddles if they have any. If we have a big blind ante, we can use these curly brackets to establish the big blind ante. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Then we establish how big the table is going to be. Let's say, for example, we're going to play a 8 max game. We have a choice here, 9 max, 6 max, 2 max, but if it's an 8 max game we're actually playing, we use the 9 max designation here. Then the next thing, so that we have at least as many seats as are our players. Next thing is perspective. The perspective is how are we going to replay the hand. The TV perspective means that all the known cards showed from the beginning, just like it does on TV. The hero perspective, only the hero card shows up in the beginning, but if you put the villain's cards in the hand, they will show up at the end, at the conclusion of the hand. So most of the hands that I do are hero perspective. The next thing, let's say this is an 8-handed game, so the first thing I do is start adding players. So now I have 8 hands. So it's a 9 max table with 8 hands. Okay. So we also set where the hero is and where the button is. So if the button is on seat 1, you can leave these names in here if you like. They're basically randomly situated, but I usually put descriptive names in there like this unless I have a specific reason. So the button, after the button, is the small blind, big blind, UTG, UTG +1. It won't let you put the plus symbol in there, but you can write it out. But you cannot use any spaces. If you use a space, it might not play the hand. Then we have low jack, high jack, cutoff. Now you can use anything you like in here. Now the dealer right now is on the button, but let's say, and that's seat 1. Let's say the hero is in seat 8 in the cutoff. So what you'll have here is that the small blind will act first, and then it will go through the cutoff, then do the button. So that was one way to do it. Now let's say we're playing 2-5 and we have 500 chip stacks, $500 stacks. So then we have to change these. In principle, I usually set this as 100 big blinds in a cash game for 4 people who aren't actually in the hand or who are not important to the playing of the hand. Fairly straightforward. Okay, then I will change the stacks for those people who are critical to the hand. So I will get, for example, let's suppose I'm in the cutoff here, which is seat 8, with a 640 dollar stack. I will then also usually go and rename this hero, so it's obvious where we're going. Then the next thing you do is add the cards that the hero has. So let's say the hero has ace, 10 of diamonds. Say okay, ace, 10 of diamonds. And let's say the small blind is going to be in the hand with us, and the small blind has, well, let's say it's a big blind. Let's say the big blind has ace of hearts, 8 of hearts. Okay, so now both hands show up. But because it's from the hero's perspective here, the villain's hand will not show up until the end of the hand if it goes to the completion. Now you could also change his name. You could call him, for example, lag regular. Okay. As I said, you could use any name you like, but it can't have any spaces in it. So now we have set this up pretty straightforward way. And what we do next is we start the action. So the action now is on the end of the gun player, and we can see that as soon as we start the action, the text file has begun to be created. Okay, uh, the small blind posts the small blind, and the lag regular posts the big blind, and the whole cards are dealt to me. I have ace 10 of diamonds. So let's start the action. So let's say the undergun player folds, undergun plus one folds, low jack folds, hijack folds. Now we're on the hero and the cutoff. Let's say we're going to open to let's say $20. Okay. Then we check, and it says $20, and you can see up here the text file is shows the raise. Okay. Let's say it folds small blind, folds to the regular, and he checks. Okay, so we have the pre-flop action in this text file up here. Let's say we now have to say what the flop is. Excuse me. Let's say the flop is ace of clubs, six of spades, and let's say call it two of diamonds. Once we have those numbers, those cards in there we like, we click the check mark, and the action's now on the big blind lag regular, who says check. We flop top pair, okay kicker, and we decide that we're going to bet. Let's say so we already bet 20 pre-flop, so let's bet say 25 on the flop, whatever the number really was. We click check mark, and it's entered into the text file. And let's say that the regular now calls. Now we have a turn card. Let's say the turn card is, let's say it pairs the board. Okay. So we have a two of hearts. Click the check mark. It shows up here, two of hearts. Let's say that the villain checks again, and we decide we're going to check behind. Okay. So let's say the river card is, which is next. River card, let's say, is a let's make it a five of clubs. Okay, and we check marked. We have it up here. The villain checks again, and the hero bets. Let's say the hero bets $30. There's a check, and the villain calls. And now we have to say which seat won the hand. So we won the hand because we have a better kicker, and we're seat 8. So we just type in 8 and OK. Now we have the incomplete text file. Okay. The next step is we save it as a new file, and you can see that the file is called HH1707 such and such. Okay. That file goes to my desktop. Before we go on to replay the hand, could show you a couple other features. One feature here is the restart button. Okay, right there. Restart takes you back to the beginning, but it leaves all the names, the stack sizes, hands, and all that the same. But we can now go back in here and change a stack size, for example, and then restart the action like that. So let's say we go fold, fold, fold like we did before. We can also use the undo button, which undoes the very last thing. So we hit fold, it showed up here, low jack folds, we undo it, and it takes away that. And so maybe it's now the low jack limps, calls 5. Okay. So by using these buttons, the undo button and the restart button, we can sometimes get ourselves out of a mess when we have screwed up our hand replayer. And finally, once we have finished with our hand and we have saved it to our desktop, which we can do, as we said, by clicking the Save As New File, we can go down to the bottom of the page, Online Replayer, and click the RIROPO Replayer. So this is a replayer that we get when we click on that link. The first thing we do is we go to Open Hand History, and we will see the files that are on our desktop. The one that we are interested in is the one we just created, HH1707 and so forth. Double click on that, and we get the hand to be loaded. So the way which we replayed is we just use the arrows like most of you have probably seen in other replayers. And we fold to the hero who opens to 20, folds to the villain who calls. Flop is A62, check. We c-bet, he calls. The turn is a paired board, check, check. The river is a small card. He checks, I bet, small. He calls, and he shows ace-8 suited, and we get the pot. So it's pretty straightforward. And the one reason why I use this particular replayer a lot is that the labels like under the gun and the stack sizes, the cards, the pot sizes, all fairly legible. So we can see it fairly easily when we're projecting it in a room full of people or when it's on a video. Live Squeezer is a simple and a free online application that we can use to create hand history text files that we can import into several applications, including many hand replayers, database programs such as Bunker Tracker, and GTO solvers such as GTO Wizard. We can create hand histories from our live play, and we could also create them for online hands that aren't downloaded to our computer. For example, I regularly create live squeezer hands for some of my online WSOP.com hands, since these hands are only retained for 30 or 40 days. I can then use live squeezer to create a permanent record of those hands. We can then import them into a replayer to display them for an audience or to make a video. Until next time, that's all, folks.